Hi everyone, this video is for section 5-7 operations with mixed numbers. And what I want you to note here is this video is going to be a little bit longer. We're going to look at subtracting where we're going to have to regroup or borrow. And I'm also going to show you two different methods to solve these, okay? So to begin, let's go ahead and solve this with as mixed numbers. So in other words, not changing them into an improper fraction. So what I want to note here is, again, we should have a red flag kind of come up and say, oh no, my denominators do not match. So again, with addition and subtraction problems that involve fractions, I need to find a common denominator. So in this case, when I do this work, so again, my whole number values will not change, so we'll just carry them over. And we need to think about what a good common denominator would be. Ideally, it's something that is the least common multiple. In other words, a number or a multiple that appears in both our 3 times tables and our 4 times tables early on. If we do that, we'll find that 12 is a good fit. So in order to do that, in order to make a 3 into a 12, I'm going to have to multiply it by 4. So that means its numerator will also have to be multiplied by 4. So that's going to give me 8. And likewise for 4, in order to make it a 12, I'm going to have to multiply that by 3. So the top has to be multiplied by 3. Okay? So I run into an issue, though. So note here, I have 3 twelfths minus 8 twelfths. I can't take 8 out of 3. Okay? So I'm going to have to regroup, or in other words, borrow. Here's what this is going to look like. I'm going to borrow a 1. And so I'm going to put my 4 here, and I'm just going to carry my 1 over here. And the reason why I'm going to get kind of fancy and draw this 3D looking, or not 3D, but this bubble number 1, is because if I'm borrowing the 1, so again, the 5 has been broken into this 4, and then this 1. I'm going to add this 1 to that fraction of 3 twelfths. Well, we've just mentioned that whenever you're adding values, specifically fraction values, adding or subtracting them, we need to make sure that they have the same denominator. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to change this 1 into a 12 over a 12. You see why I drew that kind of open bubbled 1, so this way I can kind of change that 1 into a fraction right away. So here's what my problem is going to look like rewritten. Because I borrowed a 1 from the 5, I now have a 4 in that place. And what I want to do is I want to merge these two into one fraction. So if I have 3 twelfths and 12 twelfths, then, again, not to be very Sesame Street-ish here, but I have a grand total of 15 twelfths now. Notice that nothing has happened to the fraction on the bottom. I still have 2 and 8 twelfths. But now that I've regrouped or borrowed, I can go ahead and do the subtraction with ease. So again, looking at my fractions, 15 twelfths minus 8 twelfths, that's going to result in a 7 twelfths. And then I just have a 4 minus 2 over here, and that's going to result in, stray mark, a 2. So my final answer is 2 and 7 twelfths. If you've been looking through the slides that have been provided, you also know that there's a second method. So I'm going to go ahead and recopy the problem down. And again, hopefully you are also taking notes. I'm just going to keep going. So the other option that we have here is we could convert everything into improper fractions. So again, I could take my denominator and multiply it with my whole number. And then when I'm done, I would add that to what's in my numerator. And that's going to leave me, and again, my denominator stays the same. Likewise, this denominator will stay as a 3. And I'm going to take my, keep my colors organized. My denominator times my whole number, and then I'm going to take that and add it to my numerator. Okay, so this looks a little messy, so let's go ahead and clean this up. This is going to result in 21 over 4. Remember your order of operations. Take care of your multiplication first and then your addition. And then I'm going to have minus, and I'm going to have 8/3. Okay, so now we have our improper fractions, but again, we still have that issue of my denominators are not the same. So why don't we go ahead and use the same common denominator that we came up with in the previous problem. So again, I'm going to convert this so that each one has a denominator of 12. For my fraction of 8/3, I'm going to have to multiply both the top and the bottom by a 4. For my fraction of 21/4, I'm going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by a 3. Notice that when we did it this way, when we converted into improper fractions, we don't have to worry about the regrouping here. Okay, because again, we've rolled everything up into one value as opposed to keeping a whole value separate from a fraction value. So now, again, since our denominators are the same, we know that our final solution will have a 12th in the denominator, and we're really just going to do 63 minus 32. And that will result in 31/12. We again want to convert this back into a mixed number because our problem was originally presented to us as a mixed number. So I would again encourage you, pause the video, work on this, and see, do you actually get that 31/12 is the same thing as 2 and 7/12? If you need help doing that, either go back to one of the previous videos for 5-7, or please come see me or a tutor. I hope this helps.